The darkened room hummed with the faint whir of the cooling systems, a subtle yet constant reminder of the high-tech world Alex had suddenly found himself a part of. He sat in front of a glowing screen, his eyes locked on the image that flickered before him. It was a message, an official transmission. But the message wasn't from any earthly institution. It came from a source far beyond the borders of the planet he called home. The hologram projected an image of a man, an alien, his features unfamiliar yet oddly human. Tall, with deep-set eyes and silver skin that seemed to shimmer under the low lights of his dark office. Alex had seen this alien's face before, but only in fleeting memories of conversations, late-night talks about the universe and human potential. The face of his friend, Zalker. "Alex, if you're watching this, then I'm gone," the voice of the alien broke the silence in the room. It was smooth and melodic, but there was an unmistakable weight to it. "I didn't want to leave you with this burden, but circumstances have changed." Alex blinked, rubbing his eyes. He had known Zalker for years, had been to his home planet once, a place where the stars seemed to stretch forever and the skies shimmered with colors he'd never imagined. But why was he hearing this? And why now? The message continued, unrelenting. "You are now the sole heir to my fortune. All my assets, including my estates, my wealth, and a legacy that spans across galaxies, are yours. There is, however, something more, something I couldn't share with you before." A pause. Alex's heart began to race, an instinctive reaction to the gravity in Zalker's voice. This wasn't just about money. He could feel it. "You must also take on a responsibility I can't explain in full here. My wife, Leora, is now under your protection. You will find her in the estate's chambers. It is imperative that you treat her with respect. She holds the key to more than you can imagine. Trust her, but trust cautiously." Alex froze, his mind scrambling to process the words. Wife? Zalker's wife? He had never heard of her. The alien had never once mentioned a partner, let alone a spouse. It didn't make sense. Was this some sort of elaborate joke, a twisted prank? But then he saw the second part of the hologram flicker, and a new image appeared, a woman. Leora. Her face was partially obscured by the shadows, but even then, Alex couldn't deny her otherworldly beauty. She had delicate, sharp features, her eyes glowing faintly like twin moons in the dark. Her skin shimmered faintly, the same silvery sheen as Zalker's, but there was something more about her, something that made her presence seem almost unnatural. "Treat her well," Zalker's voice came again, and there was a finality to it. "She is more important than you realize." The hologram shut off, leaving a sudden and oppressive silence in the room. Alex sat there for a moment, trying to digest the information. He had just been handed an intergalactic inheritance, assets that could buy entire star systems, and responsibility for a mysterious woman, one who was apparently tied to an alien legacy far beyond his understanding. His head spun with confusion, the magnitude of the situation weighing on him. He rubbed his temples, trying to stay focused. "Get it together," he muttered to himself. The hologram had told him to go to the estate, but where was that? How could he even begin to understand the alien world that now belonged to him? His phone buzzed, pulling him from his thoughts. A message notification appeared on the screen. It was from an unknown number. "Meet me at the address below," the message read. "I'm here to help you understand your new life." The address was a location he recognized. It was on Earth, just outside the city, Zalker's home on the planet. Alex hesitated. Could he trust this? The last thing he needed was more complications, but his gut told him something was off. Zalker's death had been too sudden, too convenient. There had to be more to this than a simple inheritance. He arrived at the location just as the sun was setting. The towering structure loomed ahead of him, its sleek metallic exterior glimmering under the fading sunlight. It looked nothing like the homes of the rich and famous back on Earth. It was alien. The door slid open without him having to touch it, as though it had been expecting him. Inside, the air smelled faintly of ozone and something else, something that made his skin tingle. The walls pulsed with soft blue light, guiding him deeper into the building. "Alex?" A voice called from the shadows. He turned quickly, his hand instinctively reaching for the weapon at his side, a precaution, he told himself. The woman standing in front of him wasn't what he expected. She was human, her dark hair framing a stern face, her posture rigid and serious. She wasn't here to make friends, that much was clear. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice low. "Mia," she said, her expression unreadable. "I was sent by Zalker. He trusted me to help you with what comes next." Alex frowned. "What comes next?" Mia's eyes flickered to the side, as though making sure they were alone. "The inheritance isn't just about money. There's a reason Zalker left everything to you, and a reason he left Leora to you. You need to understand what's at stake." She took a step closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. "There's more going on than you realize. Your friend wasn't just a businessman. He was part of something bigger. And now, you're a part of it too." Alex felt a chill crawl up his spine. "Bigger? What do you mean?" "Zalker didn't die by accident. He was killed. And now, everyone who knew him is a target. You, me, Leora. We're all in danger." The words hit him like a punch to the gut. His mind raced as he tried to connect the dots. Zalker had been killed? The man he had called a friend for years, the one who had taught him about the stars and the galaxy, was dead, and now he was left with a fortune and a woman whose life seemed tied to a mystery bigger than anything he had ever imagined. Mia's gaze softened, and for the first time, Alex saw the weight of what she was saying settle into her eyes. "You're not just inheriting wealth. You're inheriting a legacy. And that legacy comes with enemies. Powerful enemies." The air in the room felt thick, heavy with the tension between them. Alex knew there was no turning back now. He had already crossed a line by agreeing to come here, and he couldn't just walk away from the unknown. "You'll need to meet Leora," Mia said, breaking the silence. "She knows more than I do. But be careful. There's a lot about her that Zalker never told you." Before Alex could respond, the room's temperature seemed to drop, and a soft hum filled the air, signaling the arrival of someone who wasn't quite human. Leora stepped into view. Her presence seemed to fill the room, an undeniable energy radiating from her that Alex couldn't place. Her eyes locked onto his, and for a moment, it felt as though she could see straight into his soul. She didn't speak. But the silence between them felt heavier than any words could express. The silence in the room was heavy, thick with unspoken words. Alex felt his breath catch in his throat, his heart racing as the alien woman, Leora, stepped forward. He couldn't help but be drawn to her. Her presence was otherworldly, literally. Every movement she made was fluid, almost as if she were gliding rather than walking. She stood a few feet away from him, her silvery skin shimmering faintly in the soft light of the room. Her eyes were the most striking part of her appearance, deep, endless pools of luminous light that seemed to shimmer with an internal glow, like the stars themselves. Alex found himself staring, captivated by her beauty, yet unsettled by the sense of danger that seemed to emanate from her. He had expected many things, but nothing about this moment was what he had imagined. Mia, standing just behind Alex, broke the stillness with a quiet cough. "This is Leora," she said. "Zalker's wife." Leora didn't speak, but she raised her head slightly, acknowledging Mia with a subtle tilt. Her gaze shifted to Alex then, and he felt a chill run down his spine. It was as if she was reading him, studying him with an intensity that was almost too much to bear. Her eyes seemed to see through him, as though they knew things about him that he hadn't even begun to understand himself. For a moment, neither of them moved. The tension in the air was palpable, the weight of the situation pressing in on Alex, threatening to suffocate him. He had just inherited an entire fortune, an estate that could reshape his life, and yet it all felt like a strange dream. He wasn't sure if he was meant to be a part of this alien world, but here he was, in the presence of someone far more powerful, far more dangerous than he could have ever imagined. Leora finally spoke. Her voice was soft, yet it carried a sense of command, an undercurrent of authority that made Alex's stomach tighten. "You are Alex," she said, her words like a melody that echoed in his mind long after she finished speaking. "The one who inherited Zalkar's legacy." Alex nodded, unsure of what to say. He couldn't form the words, couldn't shake the feeling that he was standing on the edge of something far more complicated than he was prepared for. "I did not expect to meet you like this," he said finally, his voice hoarse. "Zalkar never mentioned you." "Not once." Leora's gaze never wavered from his. "There were reasons for that," she said. "Zalkar's life was complicated. His enemies were many. And his decisions had consequences. For him, for me, and for you." Alex felt a knot form in his stomach at her words. There was something about the way she spoke, something cryptic, something that made him feel like he was only seeing a tiny sliver of a much larger picture. Mia stepped forward then, her voice cutting through the tension. "It's best you hear it all at once, Alex," she said. "Everything Zalkar did, everything he left behind, it's all connected. And it's all dangerous." Alex turned his gaze to Mia. "What do you mean? What danger?" Mia's eyes darkened, her face serious. "Zalkar was not just a businessman, or an ambassador, or whatever you thought he was. He was involved in something much bigger, something that involved both human and alien interests. There were factions, political powers, and organizations that wanted what he had. And now that he's gone, those forces will be coming after you." Alex shook his head, disbelief washing over him. "I don't understand. He was my friend. He never mentioned any of this to me. I don't know anything about these factions you're talking about." Mia's expression softened for a moment. "Zalkar kept a lot from you, Alex. He didn't want you to be involved, but now, you don't have a choice. Not if you want to survive." Before Alex could respond, Leora spoke again, her voice low but filled with a strange intensity. "You don't know the full story. There is a secret that must remain hidden, a truth so dangerous that even mentioning it could destroy everything." Alex took a step forward, his mind racing. "What secret? What are you talking about?" Leora's eyes locked with his, and for the first time, Alex felt a shiver of fear. "Zalkar and I were part of a rebellion. A rebellion against a powerful alien empire. We fought to protect the galaxy from the corruption that runs through its heart. The inheritance you've received is not just wealth. It is the key to an ancient power, something that the empire will stop at nothing to control." Alex felt a chill sweep over him. A rebellion? Against an empire? This sounded like something straight out of a sci-fi novel, but the look in Leora's eyes told him that it was very real. And far more dangerous than he could imagine. Mia stepped closer, her voice urgent. "Leora is right. You have no idea what's at stake. This isn't just about money or power. It's about survival. The inheritance you've received? It's more than just assets. It's a weapon. And there are people, alien factions, that will kill to get their hands on it." Alex's head spun. He had only just learned about his inheritance, about the estate, and now he was being told that he had inherited a weapon that could reshape the galaxy? The idea seemed impossible. But the look on both Leora's and Mia's faces told him that this was not a joke. "You have to listen to her," Mia continued. "Zalkar didn't just leave you his fortune. He left you his enemies as well. The rebellion he was part of, those who fought alongside him, they were never meant to win. And now, the Empire is looking for any sign of weakness. Alex's mind raced as the pieces began to fall into place. The inheritance, the strange woman who called herself his wife, the cryptic message from Zalker, all of it was connected. But how? And why was he the one left to deal with it? I don't know what to do, Alex admitted, his voice breaking slightly. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with all this. Leora's expression softened, just slightly. She stepped forward, her presence commanding the room. You have a choice, Alex. You can ignore everything and walk away. But understand this, there will be no peace. The Empire will come for you, for the inheritance. They will not stop until they have what they want. Alex looked at her, torn between disbelief and fear. What happens if I refuse? What if I don't want any part of this? Leora's gaze held his, unwavering. Then you will lose everything. Your life. The people you care about. The galaxy itself. Because the Empire does not allow anyone to walk away. And you are more important than you realize. There was a weight to her words, a finality that sent a cold shiver down Alex's spine. The room felt smaller now, as if the walls were closing in on him. The air was thick with tension, and the only thing he could hear was the sound of his own heartbeat. Mia spoke again, her voice sharp. You're not just inheriting a fortune, Alex. You're inheriting a war. And it's a war that's been fought for centuries. You're caught in the middle of it now. There's no turning back. Alex took a deep breath, trying to steady himself. What do I need to do? Leora's eyes softened, but only for a moment. You need to protect the inheritance. You need to learn everything about what you've inherited, what Zalker left behind. There's more to this than you understand. You have no idea how powerful the Empire is. And there are others who will help you, if you trust them. But how do I know who to trust? Alex asked, his voice tinged with frustration. Trust no one completely, Leora replied. But trust those who have the same goal as you. And remember. This is bigger than you. It always was. The weight of the responsibility was overwhelming. Alex had no idea how to begin. The entire galaxy was suddenly his problem. The days following the conversation with Leora and Mia were a blur. Alex had been thrust into a world he could never have imagined. No longer was he simply a man living an ordinary life, he was now the key to a galactic power struggle, and the weight of it all felt unbearable at times. He had inherited far more than just wealth, he had inherited an empire's secret, its enemies, and its deadly power. Mia had taken him under her wing, guiding him through the labyrinth of information about Zalker's life and his connection to the rebellion. They spent hours poring over documents and cryptic messages that Zalker had left behind. Most of it didn't make sense to Alex. He wasn't a scholar or a strategist, he was just a regular guy, thrust into an extraordinary situation. And the more he learned, the less he felt like he understood. But the one thing that became clear was that Zalker's legacy was far more dangerous than Alex had ever anticipated. One evening, after another long day of sifting through Zalker's encrypted files, Alex sat on the balcony of the mansion, gazing out over the vast expanse of land that stretched into the horizon. The stars twinkled brightly above, but the peace of the scene was lost on him. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was coming, something that would change everything. Leora had been distant since their first meeting. She was still there, in the mansion, but she hardly spoke to him unless it was absolutely necessary. She kept to herself, often retreating to her private quarters. Alex had a sense that she was hiding something from him, but he didn't know what. All he knew was that the air between them was thick with unspoken tension. He was snapped out of his thoughts by the soft sound of footsteps approaching. Turning, he saw Mia walking toward him, her expression serious. "Alex," she said, her voice laced with concern. "We need to talk." He stood up, sensing the urgency in her tone. "What is it? What's wrong?" Mia glanced around, making sure no one was within earshot. It's about Leora, she said quietly. We need to be careful with her. She's not just an innocent bystander in all of this. She's more involved than she's letting on. Alex frowned, his mind racing. What do you mean? She's Zalker's wife. She's been with him through all of this. Mia shook her head. That's just it. She wasn't just Zalker's wife. She was his partner in the rebellion. She knew everything, about the Empire, about the secret he was keeping, about the weapon that could change the course of the galaxy. And now that Zalker is gone, she's the one with the most knowledge. She's the one who holds the key to everything. Alex took a step back, his mind struggling to process what Mia was saying. Are you saying she's been playing me? That she's using me to get what she wants? Mia hesitated, then nodded. It's possible. I don't think she means you harm, but she's not as straightforward as she seems. She has her own agenda. And right now, she's watching you closely, trying to figure out what you'll do with all of this power. Alex felt a pang of betrayal. He had trusted Leora. He had believed she was on his side, that she was just as much a victim of this situation as he was. But now, Mia was telling him that everything might be a lie. What do I do? He asked, his voice strained. I don't even know who to trust anymore. Mia looked at him with sympathy. You need to be cautious. Don't give her everything right away. There's a lot you still don't know. And if you're going to survive this, you have to learn to navigate the complexities of this world. You can't trust anyone blindly. Not even her. The weight of her words settled heavily on Alex's chest. He wasn't sure how to proceed. His world had turned upside down, and now, the very woman who had been his connection to the galaxy's secrets was potentially playing her own game. He couldn't let his guard down, not even for a second. As if on cue, Leora appeared in the doorway of the mansion. Her presence was commanding, and even though she wasn't trying to be imposing, Alex could feel the power she held just by standing there. She was a force to be reckoned with. Mia glanced at Alex one last time before turning and walking away, leaving the two of them alone. Alex watched her go, then turned his attention back to Leora. She stepped closer, her eyes never leaving his face. You've been busy, she said, her voice soft but filled with an underlying tension. Alex didn't know how to respond. His mind was still reeling from the conversation with Mia. I've been trying to understand what's going on. What this inheritance means. But it's all so complicated. Leora gave him a small, almost imperceptible smile. Yes, it is. But you don't need to understand everything at once. What matters now is that you're here. You're safe. And you have the power to protect yourself. Safe? Alex repeated, a bitter laugh escaping his lips. You think I'm safe? The Empire is after me, and I don't even know who I can trust anymore. Leora's expression hardened, her eyes narrowing slightly. The Empire will come for you, yes. But they won't find you easily. Zalker's legacy is hidden in layers of deception. The information you need is buried, and only a few people know how to access it. Alex's heart raced as he listened to her words. What kind of information? What are you talking about? Leora's gaze flicked to the ground, her voice dropping to a whisper. There is a secret weapon, Alex. A weapon that could shift the balance of power in the galaxy. And Zalker was the last one who knew how to activate it. Now, that knowledge has passed to you. Alex's mind reeled. A weapon? A weapon that could change everything? Zalker didn't tell me anything about a weapon, Alex said, his voice shaky. He never mentioned anything like that. Leora took a step closer to him. Zalker kept the weapon hidden. It was too dangerous, too powerful. But now that he's gone, it's up to you to decide what happens to it. You must choose whether to keep it hidden or use it. Alex's mind was spinning. How could he make such a decision? He was just a man, caught in the middle of a war he hadn't chosen. He had no training, no preparation. And now he was supposed to control a weapon of unimaginable power? "I don't know what to do," he whispered, the weight of the decision pressing down on him. Leora's eyes softened for the first time. "You don't have to do it alone. I will help you. I will guide you. But you must decide quickly. The Empire is already searching for you. And once they find you, it will be too late." Alex nodded slowly, his thoughts a whirlwind of confusion and fear. He didn't have the luxury of time. The Empire was coming, and he had no idea how to fight back. But he knew one thing for certain: he couldn't do it alone. He had to rely on Leora, even if he wasn't sure he could trust her completely. The galaxy was a dangerous place, and he had just stepped into its most treacherous game. The tension between Alex and Leora had only increased in the days that followed their conversation. Every word, every glance, felt charged with unspoken meanings, as if they were both dancing around something too dangerous to touch directly. Leora's presence was a constant reminder that he was no longer just a man living a quiet life. He was now part of something far bigger, a conflict that spanned galaxies, one that had drawn him into its grip without his consent. But as much as Alex wanted to trust Leora, he couldn't shake the feeling that she was holding back, hiding something from him. Mia's warnings echoed in his mind. Don't trust anyone blindly. And yet, he was caught in a bind. He didn't know enough to survive on his own. He needed allies, but could he afford to trust anyone? Days turned into weeks, and the mansion became more of a prison than a refuge. The walls seemed to close in on him with every passing hour. He spent his time learning more about the Empire, the rebellion, and the complex web of relationships that had brought him to this point. It was like trying to solve an impossible puzzle, with every new piece raising more questions than answers. One evening, as Alex was going through another set of encrypted documents Zalker had left behind, Leora approached him once again. This time, her expression was different, less guarded, more urgent. "We need to talk," she said, her voice low and serious. Alex set the documents down and met her gaze. "What now?" "There's something you need to know," she began, her tone heavy with something unspoken. "Something about the weapon. And about Zalker." Alex's heart skipped a beat. The weapon. The key to everything. But it wasn't just the weapon that had his attention now, it was the mention of Zalker. There were so many questions he still didn't have answers to. The more he learned, the more confusing it all became. "What is it?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady. Leora hesitated, looking over her shoulder as if checking for someone. Then, without another word, she moved closer to him, her eyes intense with a mixture of fear and determination. "Zalker wasn't just hiding the weapon," she said quietly. "He was hiding something far more dangerous, something that, if it falls into the wrong hands, could destroy everything. The weapon is just one part of it. The real danger lies in its activation." Alex frowned. "What are you talking about? What's the real danger?" Leora's eyes darkened, her voice barely a whisper. "The weapon is tied to a series of ancient codes. Codes that, when combined, can control not just the weapon, but also the very fabric of space itself. The power to manipulate time, to bend reality. If the codes are completed and activated, whoever controls them would become unstoppable." Alex felt a chill run down his spine. A weapon that could change the course of the galaxy was one thing. But a weapon that could control time and reality? That was something else entirely. The implications were staggering. "So, Zalker was hiding these codes?" he asked, his voice barely audible. "Where are they? And why didn't he tell me about this?" Leora's gaze softened, a hint of sadness creeping into her eyes. "Zalker didn't want you to know. He kept you in the dark because he knew the burden would be too much for you. He didn't want you to carry the weight of the galaxy on your shoulders." Alex ran a hand through his hair, trying to process everything. But why tell me now? Why not just keep me in the dark like he did? Leora's lips pressed into a thin line. Because the Empire is coming for you. They know you have the weapon, and they know you're the key to unlocking the codes. And there's someone else, someone I never thought I'd have to warn you about. She paused, her eyes searching his face for some sign of understanding. Who? Alex asked, his voice tight with anxiety. Leora took a deep breath before speaking, her words heavy with the weight of betrayal. It's my brother. His name is Kale. He's the one leading the Empire's search for the weapon. And he's the one who'll stop at nothing to get it. Alex's mind spun. Kale. Leora's brother. The leader of the Empire's forces. The very same Empire that had been hunting him since Zalker's death. Your brother? Alex repeated, his voice tinged with disbelief. Why didn't you tell me this before? Leora's gaze hardened, and for the first time, Alex saw a flash of anger in her eyes. Because I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to acknowledge that the person I've trusted my whole life is the one trying to destroy everything. Alex took a step back, trying to absorb the weight of her words. And what do you want me to do about it? You're telling me that I'm supposed to fight your brother? The leader of an empire that controls an entire galaxy? Leora's voice softened, the anger giving way to desperation. No. I'm telling you that you don't have to fight him. Not alone. We can stop him. Together. Together? Alex repeated, his tone skeptical. How can I trust you? How do I know you're not just using me to get what you want? Leora's eyes softened, her expression vulnerable. Because I'm telling you the truth. Because I need you to understand that I'm not the enemy here. My brother is. There was a long pause, the weight of her words hanging in the air between them. Alex felt torn. He wanted to trust her, he really did. But everything about this situation was so twisted, so full of lies and half-truths, that he wasn't sure who to believe anymore. I don't know, he muttered, shaking his head. I don't know what to think. Leora reached out and touched his arm, her grip gentle but firm. You don't have to decide everything right now. Just know this, you're not alone in this. And when the time comes, I'll be there to help you. Her words offered little comfort. They only made him feel more isolated, more alone in a universe that seemed bent on destroying him. But for some reason, deep down, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that Leora was telling the truth. There was something about her, something in her eyes, that made him believe she wasn't lying. She wasn't his enemy. Not yet, anyway. The night stretched on, and the shadows seemed to grow longer as the uncertainty of their situation weighed down on Alex. He couldn't ignore the fact that the Empire was closing in. He didn't know when they would strike or what they would do once they found him, but he knew one thing for sure, they were coming. And there was no escaping it. The following days were tense, each moment dragging on with the weight of uncertainty hanging over Alex like a dark cloud. He could feel the Empire closing in, the walls of the mansion growing smaller with each passing hour. Despite Leora's reassurances, the danger was real. Every piece of information they had uncovered seemed to add to the mystery, but no answers were forthcoming. It was as if the universe was intentionally keeping its secrets from him, testing his resolve at every turn. The mansion, once a place of refuge, now felt like a gilded cage. Alex spent his days poring over the documents Zalker had left behind, searching for anything that might give him an edge, anything that could lead him to the next clue. Leora remained at his side, but there was always something about her presence that made Alex uneasy. He wanted to trust her, he really did, but the more he learned about her brother, Kale, the more his doubts grew. Kale, the leader of the Empire, was a figure shrouded in mystery. Leora had described him as someone capable of incredible manipulation. A leader who would stop at nothing to get what he wanted. But even now, Alex couldn't fully grasp what kind of person Kale truly was. Was he a tyrant, a cold-hearted ruler bent on domination? Or was he merely a man driven by a sense of duty to his people, doing what he thought was necessary for the survival of the empire? The answers weren't clear, and that lack of clarity only added to the tension in the air. And then, it happened. The first signs of the empire's approach came in the form of a small, seemingly innocent communication. A signal, broadcasted in a language Alex didn't understand, appeared on the encrypted channel they had been using to monitor the outside world. Leora had been the one to catch it, her sharp eyes scanning the frequencies for anything out of the ordinary. When she saw the signal, her face paled, and she immediately rushed to Alex's side. "This is bad," she muttered under her breath, her voice tinged with fear. "What is it?" Alex asked, standing up from his chair. His heart skipped a beat as he saw the panic in her eyes. "The Empire is close," she replied, her words barely a whisper. "They've found us." Alex's stomach churned. He had known it was coming, but the reality of it hit him like a punch to the gut. The Empire wasn't just searching for him anymore, they were preparing to strike. And when they did, they wouldn't show mercy. Alex knew that if he didn't act quickly, it would be too late. "Do we have any time?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady despite the fear gnawing at his insides. Leora hesitated for a moment, her gaze flickering to the screen as if weighing her options. "We might have a few hours, maybe a day at most. But that's not enough. They're closing in, and we need to move." Alex's mind raced. There was so much at stake now. The Empire, Leora's brother, the weapon, the codes, everything was coming together in a way that felt like a ticking time bomb. And Alex had no idea how to defuse it. "Where do we go?" he asked. "What's the plan?" Leora took a deep breath, her eyes narrowing with determination. "We go to the safe house. Zalker set it up for us in case something like this ever happened. It's located on a remote planet, far from the Empire's reach. But we'll need to move quickly. We can't afford to waste time." Alex nodded, though he couldn't shake the feeling that they were running out of options. "How do we get there?" Leora moved to a nearby terminal, quickly typing in a series of commands. A holographic map appeared, displaying the location of the safe house. "We'll need to use an old transport ship that Zalker had hidden away. It's fast, but it's also a bit of a relic. We'll have to hope it's still functional." Without wasting another moment, they gathered their things and made their way to the hangar. As they moved through the mansion's corridors, Alex couldn't help but feel a growing sense of urgency. The Empire was coming, and with it, the possibility of losing everything he had fought for. But more than that, he couldn't shake the feeling that something bigger was at play, something that went beyond just the weapon, beyond the codes. There was something more to this fight, something he hadn't yet uncovered. As they reached the hangar, Alex saw the transport ship for the first time. It was a sleek, silver vessel, small but with a powerful engine that could make the jump to the farthest reaches of the galaxy in a matter of hours. The ship's hull was battered and worn, a testament to the many battles it had endured. But despite its age, it still looked capable of getting them out of here, and that's all that mattered. Leora was already working on the controls, her fingers flying over the panels with practiced ease. Alex moved to stand beside her, his eyes scanning the hangar for any sign of danger. They didn't have much time. The Empire was getting closer, and they needed to leave before it was too late. "You're sure this thing still works?" Alex asked, trying to keep his voice calm. Leora didn't look up from the controls. "It'll work. I know it." There was a brief moment of silence as the ship's systems powered up, a soft hum filling the air. Alex felt a sense of relief wash over him. They were going to make it. They were going to escape. But just as the thought crossed his mind, the ground beneath them shook. A loud, resonant boom echoed through the hangar, followed by the screech of metal on metal. The ship jolted, and the lights flickered as the entire structure seemed to tremble. Alex's heart raced, and he grabbed Leora's arm, pulling her toward him. "They're here," he said, his voice barely a whisper. Leora's face hardened, her eyes filled with determination. "Get to the ship. Now." Without waiting for a response, she sprinted toward the transport, her footsteps echoing in the now chaotic hangar. Alex followed close behind, his mind spinning with the realization that they were running out of time. The Empire had arrived, and they weren't going to let Alex and Leora escape easily. As they reached the ship, another explosion rocked the hangar, sending a wave of debris flying toward them. Alex's heart stopped as a piece of metal struck the ground near his foot. He barely had time to react before Leora shoved him into the ship's cockpit. "Buckle in," she shouted, her voice urgent. Alex quickly complied, strapping himself into the seat as Leora worked to power up the ship's engines. The ship groaned as it came to life, the engines roaring to life as the hull vibrated beneath them. The hangar doors began to open, and the sight of the vast expanse of space beyond filled Alex's view. They were so close to freedom. But just as the ship began to lift off the ground, a burst of fire erupted from the entrance. The Empire had found them, and they weren't going to let them escape without a fight. The ship lurched violently, its hull rattling as blinding flashes of red light shot past the windows. The sounds of battle reached Alex's ears as the ship's systems screamed warnings. His grip tightened around the seat's armrests, his heart pounding. The Empire had caught up to them. It was no longer a matter of escape, it was about survival. "Leora," he shouted, his voice hoarse. "We can't outrun them. We need to fight back." Leora didn't look at him. Her focus was locked on the controls, her fingers moving with practiced precision. "Hold on," she replied, her voice steely. "We're not going down without a fight." Outside the ship, Alex could see the Empire's forces, sleek, black ships chasing them in relentless pursuit. They were fast, and they were closing in. Their weapons fired relentlessly, sending explosive bursts of energy toward the transport. The ship shook violently as one of the shots made contact, but Leora didn't flinch. She kept her hands steady on the controls, expertly navigating the ship through a maze of obstacles in space. Alex glanced at the monitor, watching the ships on their tail. The transport was slower than the Empire's vessels, but it had one advantage: its size and maneuverability. It was agile, and Leora was using that to her advantage. She darted the ship through asteroid fields, narrowly avoiding collision after collision as the Empire's ship struggled to follow. "We can't keep this up forever," Alex said, his voice tight with tension. "We need to find a way to take them out." Leora's lips tightened in concentration. She looked over at him for a brief moment. "I have an idea, but it's risky. If we do this, there's no turning back." Alex didn't hesitate. "We don't have time to be cautious. Whatever it is, let's do it." Without another word, Leora engaged the ship's emergency systems. The sudden shift in power sent the transport surging forward with unprecedented speed. The Empire's ships were caught off guard for a moment, but it wasn't long before they adapted. One ship fired a powerful beam that slammed into the transport's rear, sending the vessel careening to one side. "Brace for impact," Leora shouted, throwing herself into the controls as the ship spun wildly out of control. Alex gripped the sides of his seat, his stomach dropping as the ship veered dangerously close to an asteroid. The transport's thrusters sputtered as Leora tried to regain control. Come on," she muttered under her breath, sweat pouring down her face. With a sudden jolt, the ship straightened out, and the violent spinning stopped. Alex exhaled sharply, realizing just how close they had come to disaster. But there was no time to rest. The Empire's ships were on them again, closing in fast. Leora's voice was steady as ever. "We're going to have to use the ship's weapon systems. I've only got one shot at this, so I need you to trust me." Alex nodded, the weight of the moment sinking in. He had trusted her this far, and he wasn't about to stop now. Do what you need to do. Leora reached for a hidden panel on the side of the cockpit, her fingers quickly manipulating a series of switches. A low hum filled the ship as the weapon systems powered up. Alex could feel the energy building, the tension in the air almost palpable. The weapon is a one-time use prototype, Leora explained. It has enough power to take down one of their ships, but if we use it, we won't have any defense left. Once I fire, we're on our own. We don't have a choice, Alex said, his eyes locked on the ships that were closing in. Do it. Leora's fingers hovered over the firing mechanism, her breath slow and steady. In that moment, time seemed to stretch out, each second dragging by as the Empire's ships surrounded them. The transport was fast, but it was only a matter of time before they found a way to neutralize it. Firing now, Leora muttered, and she pressed the button. A blinding burst of energy shot from the ship, streaking across space toward the nearest Empire vessel. The beam collided with the enemy ship's hull, sending it into a violent explosion. The ship shattered into fragments, debris scattering in all directions. The Empire's forces were thrown into disarray. But the victory was short-lived. The remaining Empire ships began to close in, their weapons firing once again. They were relentless, and Alex knew that it was only a matter of time before the transport's defenses were completely overwhelmed. Leora! Alex yelled, his panic rising. We can't keep dodging forever. We need a plan. Leora's face was set in a grim expression. She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she focused on the ship's controls, her eyes flicking over various readings as she calculated their next move. Alex could see the tension in her posture, the way her muscles were taut with the effort of keeping the ship together. But despite her calm exterior, Alex could feel the fear radiating off of her. She was as scared as he was, perhaps more so. She had been through this before, but this time was different. This time, it wasn't just her life at risk. It was his, too. There's one last thing I can try, Leora said, her voice tight. It's a long shot, but it might just work. Tell me what to do, Alex said, not wasting any time. Leora's eyes met his, and for the first time since the chaos began, she smiled, a smile full of determination and desperation. You need to help me. I can't do it alone. She reached for a console at her side, activating a secondary control panel. There's a system override I can trigger, but I need you to engage the auxiliary thrusters and keep the ship steady. If we do this right, we can get close enough to the enemy flagship to board it. Board it? Alex asked, incredulous. Are you serious? How do we do that? Leora's gaze was intense. We don't have a choice. If we can infiltrate the flagship, we can sabotage their control systems. That'll buy us enough time to escape. It sounded insane, but Alex knew that desperate times called for desperate measures. He didn't question her. Instead, he nodded. Let's do it. With his help, Leora maneuvered the ship closer to the Empire's flagship, dodging fire from the smaller ships as they attempted to intercept them. The transport's hull took another hit, but they pushed through. The flagship loomed larger in the viewports, its massive size dwarfing their tiny vessel. Get ready, Leora said. We're going in. As the transport closed in on the enemy flagship, Alex felt a surge of adrenaline. He didn't know what awaited them on that ship, but he knew one thing for sure, this would be the defining moment. If they could succeed here, they might just have a chance to escape the Empire's grasp.